Hey. Which poppin'? I don't know why I decide to do this every time when I record, but whatever. We're gonna go with it. Hey, y'all. What? Okay. We're just gonna keep it. It's fine. As I said, welcome back to another episode. It's your girl MamMaJism, aka MamMaJ, and you are listening to MamMaJism. This is season 2, episode 17 of Podsmas. We're gonna do things a little different. And you know what? With this episode, there might be a part 2 because there's just so many fun things that we can do with this. Just a reminder though, the holiday challenge for this week is to reach out to a loved one. Sounds super simple, right? Just apply it. And for me, when it comes to reaching out to people, I always just do it the moment I think of them. Like sometimes I'll just randomly be like, I wonder how so-and-so is doing. And then and I pick my phone up and instantly reach out to them because a thought could be here and gone in a moment. So it's just easier to just act on those impulses, on those kind of impulses, once they come to your mind. Otherwise, it'll be lost. And then weeks will go by and then they finally reach out to you and then you're like, oh, I just thought about you. And they're like, why didn't you hit me up? But yeah, so just a little tidbit for you there. At least that's what I do. Okay, why do I feel like this keeps getting lower and lower? I'm gonna get it together one day. Okay, so this is a fun little episode. Well, it was fun for me just to do the research for it, but so there are a lot of Christmas movies out, right? And there are a few Christmas movies that are pretty much known as classics, or more times than not, people have seen these movies. And so I decided to go on a Christmas theories deep dive, right? And there are so many fun theories to talk about, but for time's sake, I'm only going to touch on two and a half. Yeah. So the first one is actually about Home Alone. It's a Home Alone theory. And I personally don't really care for the movie. But I have watched it maybe twice or 3 times. I don't really remember everything in detail. But for those of you who have never seen it, Home Alone is a movie about a boy who spends his Christmas alone in his big house because his family forgets to take him on their family trip to Paris. Things turn sour when these burglars try to break in because they know the family left for the holidays, only to find that this little boy isn't making it easy for them to, break in and steal their shit. So, in a nutshell, that's basically what Home Alone is about. Throughout the movie, the main character, Kevin, the little boy who got left, he is coming up with all these contraptions and different ways to catch the burglars or prevent them from getting inside of the house, which they do eventually do. But even still, he sets up these booby traps basically. Why I mentioned these booby traps? Oh, because the theory for this movie is that basically Home Alone is the origin story for Jigsaw, who is also known as John Kramer from the Saw franchise movies. Please tell me y'all have seen or watched at least some of the Saw movies. They are so good. I remember when the first Saw came out, it fucked me up. It fucked me up. And then it had me terrified because I was like, oh my gosh, someone who is mentally unstable is going to watch this and want to recreate it in real life. I don't think it's happened yet, but who knows with the way this world is working right now. But then they kept coming out with more and more movies. But, Saw is the original movie. And then I think the latest movie that dropped was Jigsaw, which was 2 years ago, I think, which is also good. But anyway, if you haven't watched any of the Saw movies, the premise of those movies is that it's a serial killer who goes by the name of Jigsaw, who captures people who have done wrong and teaches them lessons by putting them in these wild contraptions, and they have to figure their way out or else they'll die. And usually the people who do survive, they learn their lesson or first of all, they figure out why they got captured in the first place or what they did wrong. And usually the people that he captures are people who did wrong to him or somebody that he knows. If you haven't watched these movies, for real, go check them out. The Saw movies, because they are amazing. But watch them in the daytime, because that's what I do for all of my thriller movies. Okay, so they believe this to be a theory, right? That Kevin from Home Alone is really John Kramer from Saw, based on the way that the main character in Home Alone, Kevin, he displays his anger, his tendency for violent fantasies, and his fixation for recording everything on video. So the article goes on to share like multiple instances that make a pretty good convincing argument that these characters aren't two separate characters, but one. One being the metal mouth furnace monster hallucination that Kevin had in the Home Alone movie, which looks similar to the torture device that Amanda wears in the Saw movie. And then there are a few other movie comparison examples, but for time's sake, I'll just leave it at that one. And then for more evidence, the real life actors, they actually do resemble each other. In the article, they share like a side by side of Macaulay Culkin, who is the actor that played Kevin in Home Alone. So they have a picture of him in the Home Alone movies as a kid, and then him as an adult, so like how he looks now, and then the actor who plays John Kramer in the Saw movies, what he looked like in the movies. And they actually do look very similar, like the eyes and the the nose and like the hair. They do look like, so I don't know, either it's coincidence or intentional. Y'all be the judge on that one, but I will link the article in the show notes. So if you want to check that article out, read it, see the pictures and stuff, let me know. And another Christmas movie theory is that all the Tim Burton movies are connected to A Nightmare Before Christmas. And when I say all the Tim Burton movies, I mean all of them. So that's Frankenweenie, Vincent, Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Corpse Bride. I do recall reading something about how Corpse Bride, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Frankenweenie are all connected, but I didn't realize that there was a connection between Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice as well. I've never even heard of Vincent, but apparently Vincent is Tim Burton's first stop-motion film, and it's about a boy who lost his mind, and he tries to turn his dog into a zombie, so of course they take the dog away from him, and said dog gets adopted by Victor, who's from the Frankenweenie movie, and he renames the dog Sparky. And also in that stop motion film, Vincent has a wife, quote unquote wife, that never actually existed, but he claims that he buried her alive and tried to bring her back to life. And this resulted in the creation of Sally, who later dies and is now in Halloween Town, which leads to the movie Frankenweenie, but also is a connection to A Nightmare Before Christmas. And so in the movie Frankenweenie, I think I watched this movie. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. But you know what? No, I'm not going to spoil, I guess, that movie. That's what I need to say. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched any of these movies, spoiler alert. Sorry about that. I'm not even going to go too deep into this because but once again, I will also link this, post in the show notes so that you can check it out. But it's like this deep web of connections between all of the characters and things like that. And then the last theory, at least for this episode that I want to talk about, it's also from A Nightmare Before Christmas, and this theory is that everyone in Halloween Town is dead from the movie A Nightmare Before Christmas. Bam, that's how you say it. So this theory is not only that everyone died tragic deaths, but that their personality traits are tied to the way that they died. So, for example, Sally in the movie died of dismemberment, and in the movie we can see that she can fall apart, like fall to pieces, and then come back together, like stitch yourself up back together. So when you're dismembered, you're obviously cut up in a little bitty pieces, and then she can put herself back together. So this particular theory is really interesting if you think about it, because in A Nightmare Before Christmas, we see that there are different holiday towns. There's like a Christmas one, I think a Thanksgiving one, and a couple others. So it begs the question, does the type of death that a person experienced determine which holiday town that they land in? And if so, like, what would that death look like? Like for Christmas Town, what kind of death would that be, you know? But you be the judge. And once again, I will post that particular... Why did I yell that? And for that particular post, I'll also post that in the show notes as well, and I will label them for you. And I have a couple more, but I think that I'm just so excited right now that I'm just going to leave it at those. But if you do want a part 2 to this, let me know. And it'll probably be tomorrow's episode because I love me a good conspiracy theory. And, you know, bringing Christmas movies into the mix and kind of just turning your childhood upside down is like really fun for me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. Cool. Okay, well, that's it. Bye. 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 Okay. Thank you for listening. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and follow all the socials at MamMaJism. That's MamMaJism. If you decide you want to financially support me, on my accounts you'll be able to find out how. Thanks in advance. Until we meet again, please be kind to one another. And from the bottom of my heart, I love you.